Okay, we continue our next Mishnah. We're on Daf Lamed Aleph in the third parak of Bava Kama of Hamaniach. And now we're going to talk about people walking in the public area, and people are carrying different items, and one may damage the other, and what is the liability in this case? So here we go. Mishnah says, Zeh Bo BeChovitz. One person is walking with a barrel. He's going in one direction. Zeh Bo BeChovitz, and another is walking with a beam in the opposite direction. So they're both walking down the street in opposite directions. They're apparently not paying attention. Nishbaro kado shel zeh, b'koroso shel zeh, and the person's kad, and we know again a kad and a chavis, the word chavis, are interchangeable. The person's kad, his barrel, is broken by the beam of the other. Potter, the owner of the beam, is not liable to pay for the damages of the broken barrel. Why? Shelezer rishus laholech, lezer rishus laholech. It's a public thoroughfare, and therefore this person has rishus to walk, and this person has rishus to walk. So since it's not clear who is liable, since they both were negligent and not paying attention, therefore nobody's potter. Now, that's the first case. Hayabal hakora rishon. What if the person with the beam is walking in front, ubal chavis acharon, and the person, the barrel owner, is with his barrel is walking behind the person with the beam? Nishbara chavis bikoro potter. And the man with the barrel smashes into the beam, and his chavis breaks. Potter balakore. The balakore is potter. Why? Because he was walking normally, the balakore. He was walking normally, and therefore the balachavis should have been more careful when walking. He bumped into my beam. Not my fault. I was walking at a regular speed. He should have paid attention. But ve'im, and if amad balakore. But what if the balakore all of a sudden just stopped suddenly, unexpectedly, and now the guy behind him carrying the barrel bumps into him and his barrel breaks? Then chayiv, then the balkore is chayiv, because that's not expected. Now today we have cars, and you're driving behind the person, the guys have their brake lights, so you know that they're going to brake. And if they signal, what if the brake lights don't work? And what if they're not signaling? So those are issues that we need to talk about. Okay. V'im amar lebal chavis. But if he says to the bal chavis, the bal kore, the man with the beam, says to the bal chavis behind him, Amad, stop, giving him fair warning, and the guy didn't stop, and he bumps in, his barrel breaks into the beam, it's broken by the beam. Potter, the bal kore is potter. Why? Because he gave him ample time to stop. He wasn't being negligent. The bal chavis wasn't paying attention when the guy screamed out, stop. And therefore, the Baal Korah did everything in his power. He's potter. He doesn't have to pay for the broken barrel. Next case. Hayabal chavis harishon. Now this time we're talking about the owner of the barrel is walking in front. Ubal kore acharon. And the owner of the beam is walking behind him. And now his beam is going to smash into the man's barrel. Nishbra chavis. He breaks the man's barrel. Bekora chayav. So now the owner of the beam is liable. Why? Because he should have paid attention. He's walking behind him. He should have kept the regular pace. He should have slowed down. He should have seen it coming. Obviously, a beam is more dangerous than a barrel. And a beam has more potential of doing harm than a barrel. But if the Baal Chavis stops suddenly, Potter, the Baal Korah, the man with the beam, is potter. He's not liable to pay for the damages for the barrel, because he didn't expect the guy who was carrying the barrel to stop suddenly. It's not expected. But ve'im amar lebal korah. But if the Baal Chavis tells the Baal Korah, Amad, stop, giving him enough time to stop, and the guy doesn't pay attention, and he barrels into the guy, he's like tailgating him, chayev. Then the Baal Korah is chayev to pay for the damages of the barrel. And also, the Mishnah says, Zeh Bo BeChovitz. This applies if someone is walking with flame. Zeh Bo BeChovitz. And the other person is walking with flax. Flax is very flammable. And of course, if the nair comes in contact with the flax, it'll ignite. So there too, the same rule applies. Each person has to be careful and has to pay attention when it comes to the rules on behavior on the road, that you have certain responsibilities. Now let's just look quickly at Rashi's. Rashi says in the first case, why are they both potter when they bump into each other, going in opposite directions? Pogeya zeh b'zeh, because they were pogeya, they were negligent, they weren't paying attention. And they're potter shall shneihem rishus laholech, because they both had a right to walk on the sidewalk. You have a right to walk on the sidewalk. Just because you have a right to walk on the sidewalk doesn't mean that you can't pay attention. You have a responsibility to pay attention, to watch where people are coming. Hayabal korin rishon potter, and we say that why would, if the BeChovitz bumps in to the BeChovitz, the BeChovitz is behind the BeChovitz and he bumps into him, why is he potter? Because the guy with the beam was walking normally, and the guy with the barrel, who maher lelechas, he was going too fast. Again, it's like tailgating. You're too close behind the guy, and he stops suddenly. You're responsible because you were following too close. Something I want you to consider, and that is, we learned about Adam Mud La'olam, that a person is always liable for their actions. How does that impact our Mishnah? And do we see it in our Mishnah? So let's discuss that in class.